Yeah, what's up? What's up? What's going on? Once again, uh, here with your bro, Sazo. You nuts! You was talking all of that stuff about Brunson like he ain't him, which is cool. All right, cool. You know, I forgive you guys. I forgive you guys over top. You know, we got the cup. That's just what it is, man. We got the cup. Said we couldn't beat San Antonio. Said we couldn't beat the Magic. Said we can't, but it is what it is. We here now, right? But anyway, moving along. Um, about to address what's going on. Great conversations. Lapeef Network. Shout out Lapeef Network. They always have great conversations. They always keep the people interested. But a lot of the stuff that comes across, a lot of the stuff that they review, it sparks conversation. Even though I vehemently disagree because it doesn't, doesn't really equate to anything. It doesn't really equate to sense. But we're gonna go ahead and review the last conversation they had, which was a pretty good one. I definitely liked it. So let's go ahead and start this out. Check this out. Vet, she is a poverty pimp. She loves to sell y'all poverty, but let's hear what she got to say.
Africa and Kenya, and that's the only thing I can know. I can't know nothing other than your VPN. So don't talk to me about, well, they relocated. No, that ain't who it is. I don't care. Why are we talking about all of this ADOS history? When you go there, there's a lot of ADOS history. Why are we talking about that? I don't understand why we're having a conversation about ADOS history. American descendants of chattel slavery in this country, slavery, the institution of slavery. Why are you, if you are in Kenya somewhere, why are we having this conversation?
Because Africans look up to, maybe she doesn't understand, but the world looks up to the superpower, which is America. And one of the big populations of the world superpower, which is a minority population, but still, especially when you see people who resemble each other, of course they're going to look up to you and, have questions and want to know and talk about. It's like Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? On a certain scale, like, people look up to America. That's why you're always the topic of conversation because the rest of the world looks up to America. America is a superpower, and Black people are a big portion of the world superpower, especially the exports. What's exported from the world superpower, which is the Black image and likeness.
I don't understand why you are having this conversation. And people kept trying to get mad at me about it. Like, because I don't understand why Africans would prefer to tell their own, to tell our story instead of their own story, unless there's something more attractive, unless there's something more liberating, unless there's something.
Like I said, of course, the product that's being sold to the rest of the world by the people who own it and control it, not necessarily Black people, but you are a product. We are a product because I live in New York. I live in America. Our likeness and image is a tangible good that's sold on a market, which is capitalism. And I love it. I fully embrace it. There's no problem with selling my image and likeness unless, I can make some money off of it too. And people do. They might take crumbs. A lot of people do take crumbs. And the people's actually doing the selling is taking a lion's share. But yes, you are a product that's being exported to the rest of the world. So why wouldn't they, sell you out? If you're going to sell yourself out.
Something more courageous about our story than your story. Why are y'all on this app faking? to be Negroes and talking about Negro history unless there's something about our story that you find more moving, right? That gets more traction, that gets more attention than your story. Because
yeah, I mean, that can be true. Definitely. You are, of course, attention, traction, of course, the lights, camera, action, the glitter and gold. That's all sprinkled into, that's definitely sprinkled into the story. You know, of course, they're going to dress it up. And of course, African Americans have very interesting stories, controlling the narratives. Puffy, 50. It's always interesting. You know, there's always diamonds, glamour, glitz, women around. That makes it very interesting and very attractive to the rest of the world. That is a part of the product.
Barack Obama didn't get no attention by being Kenyan and white. Barack Obama didn't get no attention by doing that. Barack Obama got attention by mimicking the cadence of MLK.
Do you know the culture of the Kenyans? I'm not too sure, but I know they hustlers because I know where they from. They from Africa, so they're gonna sell what the people need. They're gonna go anywhere and sell, and I know they can run. So they gonna sell regardless of anything. That's probably what you feel to understand.
Hey, right? By faking a Southern church accent, by faking a Southern Negro accent. He didn't bring nothing from Kenya into that. There was nothing Kenyan.
You sure
about what he used to get the ADOS vote. Well, he went into that church and he faked that accent. He faked the Negro accent. So maybe in this country there is something, and maybe around the world there is something about us that you find attractive. There's something about us that moves souls. That's what the church is about. That's what the ADOS church in this country has always been about. Maybe you need to get honest about what it is about us.
I don't think you should bring up the church, because church is church, man. I'm definitely Black American culture has put a spin on church that is a product that's being sold around the world as well. Like, is a characteristic. It's a product that's being sold around the world. So of course, like, people use it just like a tool to pimp, and get money and benefit themselves. And Barack Obama, I would say, is no different. When he needed the church, he used it. When he didn't want the church, he discarded it. Just like everybody else. When they want the church, they need it, they use it. When it's no longer beneficial to them, they discard it. That's everybody.
That is so attractive to people around the world, and why you don't get as much traction when you do stuff based on your own country. And instead of just doing this Twitter stuff, maybe you need to get some of that in you and do the stuff you need to do in your own country. Because y'all have dictators, y'all have despots, just like we got them over here.
There's no dictators and despots in America. There's no dictators and despots, despite what you're saying. There is no dictators, especially dictators, because dictators, what I say, go, and there's no other way around it. There's plenty of free speech in America. You can be censored, definitely. 100% you be censored, but you definitely have the option of saying what you want. Are there penalties for freedom of speech? Sometimes. You can definitely be deplatformed, debanked, but for the most part, in America, freedom of speech still exists. I listen to battle rap all the time. I listen to hip hop, and those are one of the greatest two expressions of freedom of speech in America.
Maybe there's something you can learn instead of something you can just grift from. Maybe. I mean, maybe that is something that you need to give serious consideration to. And don't keep telling me that, well, Kenyan is black and it's all the same. We don't do flat blackness around here, and we ain't did it in a long time.
I mean, yeah, Kenya is a different country. There's tribes there with different cultures, but all black people, though, all black people. You know, if you check your veins, your DNA, I'm sure it probably goes back to sub-Saharan Africa, regardless. So, you know, we all black. I don't know what the whole thing other, and we all black. Trust and believe. We are all black. We just have different cultures, different ways we go about things. Yeah.
That stuff is over with. We don't do that stuff no more. We understand it's different. We understand in ways that it doesn't resonate here.
I think everything she said speaks for itself. I'm not about to sit here and try to defend black culture to nobody who ain't us.
What do you mean by nobody who ain't us? I don't think that let's go ahead.
Who the fuck are y'all? Who the fuck is he? For me to tell you anything about what's going on over here, talk about your own shit. I don't get why every conversation got to be surrounded about what we do.
Because you're part of the superpower of the world. I don't think you understand the responsibility that you have, because you do follow. I mean, the rest of the world does follow what African Americans do. You know, the world looks up to African Americans, just like they look up to America in general. So sometimes the silly shit that people do, people want explanations for that. People want explanations for that.
Do your own shit. Talk about your own shit. Talk about your own problems. Why are y'all always talking about what we got going on over here?
Because there's a conversation back and forth. Generally, we can have a conversation back and forth. You know, that I thought that's what, you know, logical people do, is we have conversations about, you know, what's going on in the world. You know, but the characteristics, and I took some notes. Let me adjust this right now. Right? Cultural identifiers. A lot of people think that the cultural identifiers are not, they believe it's something that it's not really. They think about culture as like clothes, food, music. That's not culture. That's not culture, or that's not the worldview of culture. Some of the cultural identifiers are aversion to work, whether you lazy or you strong, pronouns to violence. If I address you and say something to you, will you get violent? Like, you can say, okay, well, these group of people are not very violent people. If you address them a certain way, if you talk to them about certain things, they're not going to react violently. This other group over here, if you say something to them, it's up. Neglection of education. Is education important to your group, or is it not? Do you neglect, do you discard it? Or is in education something that is very important to your group of people? That's culture. How y'all feel about educating yourself. Sexual promiscuity. That's culture. Are you a promiscuous group of people, or are you very reserved? Do you embrace whole culture, strippers, hoes, or are you more reserved? Pride, touchy pride specifically. I'm getting this from Thomas Sowell, by the way. Touchy pride. Are these a prideful group of people? Are they easily offended, or can they take criticism? Can you have a conversation with this group of people? Or are they so prideful that you can't even talk to them? And are they boastful, or self-dramatic? And you know what I mean by boastful or self-dramatic, meaning like you want to boast and talk about something, but you broke my G. But you want to boast, you want to act like you got it when you ain't got it. Those are some of cultural identifiers. Continue.
Leave us the fuck alone. That dude, that shit was ignorant, and you can tell he was ignorant. Shout out to one of the people in the chat. They brought up the
insults, a lot of insults because somebody's asking you a question like, what is the culture? Explain it. Go a little bit further. Go deeper into it. Go deeper. Explain yourself. Explain the culture through the lens of these cultural identifiers. Explain the worldview. But you want to be defensive, when somebody asks you a legitimate question.
The fact that he, later on in that conversation, he said something about how white people don't form like Voltron. That's how I know you don't know shit about this country. Because white people form like Voltron all the time in this country. I would invite you to read a book called How the Irish Became White. How the Latinos became white.
Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Those are different nationalities, right? White is a race. It's not culture specific. And it's you saying one group, which is the Irish, right? And the Italians, right? How they, well, actually, they are all white, but some group embraces it, some groups don't. Doesn't make it culture.
How the Italians became white.
The Chinese and Japanese.
Chinese and Japanese. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I mean. Some people embrace it, some people don't. Some people are not white. Like genetically, if being white is a social construct, race itself is a social construct. So some people are gonna embrace it socially, some people are not. I don't think Chinese people consider themselves to be white, as in the same as Irish or Italian. Doesn't necessarily make any sense.
They come together like Voltron all the time. And you know who they always come together like Voltron against? It always seems like they come together like Voltron against us.
I think that's a self-esteem issue. You saying that white Italians, white Irish people, of course, in history, individual situations, anecdotal individual situations can explain racism in certain situations, but to say that the whole race is against a whole race, that doesn't make, that you don't have no evidence of that. You don't have any. And if you can, please, prove it to me that a whole race is against another whole race, or a whole, what would you call Italians? A whole Italian group. Everybody Italian is against it. Everybody black. Everybody Irish against everybody black. No. And a lot of times, the reason why, people run into these problems or these issues is not because of the race, your color, your skin. It's because of your ideology and how you think and the culture you live, you participate in.
As long as you leave them Negroes over there alone, we'll fuck with you. You don't know that was a part of the GI Bill? Did y'all know that was a part of that was ingrained in the FHA Housing Act when they had?
This was before or after slavery. I'm not sure. I mean, I would love to do some research on that and get a further understanding if it was discrimination. And I could believe it because it was the redlining laws and situations. But even still, like, so what? You think the people of those times, black people of those times, who were on a different, who had a different culture, a different ideology, did not care about that. That would not stop their success. Discrimination actually furthered their success.
Had people building developments, and they told them that as you can get government money just so as long as you don't sell to black people. And then told them if a white person bought the house, they can't even resell it to black people.
It still doesn't speak to the culture. I really don't understand.
Damn. I think me and his brother here on the same page.
How just because this man made his commentary, I'm lost. I'm really trying to be edified and educated. What does that have to do amongst Americans? I think Shan said it about 20 minutes ago. If we were to ask what the culture is, we would have different answers and different responses. To me, that's what I heard. Not the fact that he's African, not the fact that their country sucks.
True. Why does it matter?
That's a fact. I think there's miscommunication here because the definition of culture is not clear, and what specifically culture is not clear in this conversation here. So that's where, you know, people, I think, are going in completely different directions. People are getting offended. People are not explaining what it is and, you know, acknowledging what necessarily the culture is today, because that's what I think, that's what Thomas Sowell was breaking down in the book. Black rednecks, white liberals. He's breaking it down that, you know, today's modern urban African-American culture is not African-American culture, truly. It's not, you know. And he was, and I didn't read the book yet. I ain't gonna lie to you. But I've researched a good amount of it to understand, and I do know what the thesis is, the thesis statement is, and how he presented the argument.
Why does what?
Why does it matter? Who the heck? Why do we have to come to him and tell and define what our culture is to somebody that is not of it?
Because people tapping you on your shoulder, and people are tapping you, especially Africans are tapping you on your shoulder like, hey, bro, this is going in a bad direction. Not only Africans, but white people, everybody, the world. Like I said, you're on the world stage. You represent the superpower of the world. And this has gone from Condoleezza Rice to Sexy Red real quick and real fast. So everybody wants to know what's up with this. You went from Apollo Creed to Saucy Santana, my nigga.
We don't have to explain shit to him. Why do we have to have a conversation about black culture? We know what we do. We know how we move. I know that there ain't a city in this country that I can't go to that I don't understand the people in that city. Not one. I don't care if I'm going to Memphis, LA, Chicago.
You see, this is the thing. Like it comes back to the fact that, yeah, black Americans are tribal just as much as Africa, and they're different all around the world. You know, I understand, you know, that things are different. You know, people are different depending on where you go. New York is not like Texas. Texas is not like California. California is not like Michigan. But there is no one culture for African Americans. If anything, it would be American culture. And then American culture, African American culture, is a subculture of something else, which is a subculture of something else. But, you know, I'm gonna cut this video short. You know, If you agree with me, hit me with a like, smack that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, definitely check for me, and I'll see you again real short. Peace out.